Welcome everyone to the webinar. I'm really super excited. If you've been asleep in 2025, the gold and silver market has just pumped. And what we have tonight is a great webinar on how gold and silver is going to go in 2026. I want to welcome Ed Ludbrook, the founder and owner of Wealth 99. He's done some great research and come up with some really surprising stats for you guys. So I hope you enjoy the webinar. I look forward to catching you at the end. Welcome, Ed.
Hi, thanks so much. The real point of this whole webinar is to explain something that I've found. And what was what was surprising about it is that the world has basically a view of how the gold and silver market works, and what's going to drive this market is going to be different than what people think. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the gold and silver market at the moment. I'm going to talk about the whole these assets as an investment. I'm going to give you some ideas. I hope you feel it's empowering, but I'm going to talk about money, so I've got to talk about this disclaimer. This is for only educational purposes. It is my opinion about what's going to happen. You need to take advice if you feel that you need to do that if you're going to make an investment decision. And look, in reality, when we talk crypto, we normally don't a lot of financial advisors don't really understand the crypto market, but they do understand gold and silver. So this is a market that they would really understand, and I think they'll be fascinated about what I'm saying, and I'm sure that they agree, because we've talked to a few of these guys, and every single person agrees with what I'm going to share with you. Because when it comes to investing in precious metals, right, the big market is actually the Indian, the Chinese, those sort of markets. They have traditionally invested in especially gold, but also silver, because they come from ancient cultures where there's often been chaos, and you needed some wealth that you can stack in your pockets and run from the marauding hordes. Okay, but the average person in the West. And this webinar is very much focused on Australia and the UK. It's not a common asset to invest in. Lots of people do, all right? Lots of people want to, but it's not something they do. And the reality is, buying and selling precious metals can be very, very expensive. When you're transporting it, when you're storing it, can be a huge hassle. And part of the challenge is that you don't get, storing it, you don't get paid any interest, all right? Unlike putting some sort of money in a bank account. And the reality is, we've talked about precious metals. We've as a company since 2020, the reality is that people get excited, but then they look at the market and the price literally hasn't moved since 2010. And so it's hard to promote that. But all of that has changed recently. As you're probably aware, gold hasn't moved, and then suddenly 2 years ago started to rock and roll, and in the last 2 years has grown by 150%. It's incredible growth. It's just breached 5,000 US dollars per ounce. It's over every media outlet at the moment, and the reason why that's going up is traditionally, other than sort of grabbing some wealth and running for the hills, is because of governments printing money. Okay, and because they print money, it devalues the value of your currency, the dollars or whatever pounds that you've got in your pocket. The spending power drops, and therefore what people say is you should keep some money in gold to protect your value as a store in value. So it's all about money supply. And so this graph here shows you the last 20 odd years of government of major currency money supply. So the red one at the bottom is Japan. It hasn't really moved. The blue one above that is the Eurozone. It's actually increased by it looks like 300%. Then the US, it's more than 400% over the last 20 odd years. 400% is a lot, right? It's a lot. because the economy hasn't grown that. It accumulates, but it hasn't grown that much. And the really big one, which is the Chinese currency, has grown by 25 times over the last 20 odd years. And if you put those together, because it's currency, there's money, liquidity can transfer across borders now. Okay, which is why gold is a worldwide price. Okay, and so it's relevant. And so when you look at what's happened, it's gone from around $20 trillion to $100 trillion. It's higher than that now. The point is that sort of growth needs to be reflected in a store of value like gold. And so on that one graph alone is enough to know that whilst gold has gone up a lot today, when we look at the future, you could confidently believe. You never know, but you could confidently believe that gold is going to keep growing. Okay, there's no market for it to grow by 10 times. But if you said that it would double in value from $5,000 to $10,000 an ounce over the next 2 years, that's pretty credible. Okay, that's pretty credible. That's not an unusual or rational prediction to make. And if you can tell me another asset that will probably grow by 100% over the next couple of years, okay, you're probably only talking about things like crypto or maybe Tesla shares or someone like that. Okay, there are very, very few high growth opportunities, especially one as widely traded and as credible as gold. And to me, the only real threat is Bitcoin, because Bitcoin they call digital gold. But even then, when you're talking about $100 trillion money supply issues, gold and Bitcoin could grow dramatically from where they are today, as 100% growth would be. And still, that's credible. So we all got it. We look at gold, fantastic, money supply. So now let's look at silver. And the reality is silver has been probably the best performing asset of 2025. Okay? And I'm saying that for the people who didn't know that silver has been the best performing asset of the last 12 months. Okay? And the reason why I've showed you this now, this was actually from Ford magazine this morning. And basically the way they explain it is that sort of what's going to drive gold and silver are the same thing. It's all a financial thing. It's all a money supply questions, and the fact that silver's rocked is only because gold's rocked. Okay, and there is a little bit of that. But that is not why silver really is rocking, and is not why silver will probably be the hottest thing in the world, okay? Now, let's just understand some things. Gold started booming a couple of years ago. Silver only started in the last 12 months, and in reality, it only really broke out a few months ago. And it's gone crazy. Look at the graph. It's crazy. That says $93. I think I saw it at $114 or $116 because it went crazy over the last few days. All right. So it's literally in the last 12 months up like 250%, which is crazy for silver. Silver is not a little thing. You're talking about, I think the value of global silver at the moment is more than $6 trillion. Okay, it is a massive, massive sector, but it's growing like it's a sort of brand new crypto. Okay, so the big question is what's driving that? Because it's obviously not just money supply. Otherwise, it would be just matching gold, but it's not. And that is the real story that means that I think silver could be the best performing asset this year. And the issue is that demand is outstripping supply. And I don't mean by a little bit. I'm talking like 20%. I'm talking like 200 million ounces a year. 6,000 tons of silver is short. And stockpiles, they're having obviously to draw silver from stockpiles are at multi-decade, not multi-year, multi-decade lows. They are literally running out of silver. And the reason is industrial. So the demand is like 1.2 billion ounces, like 35,000 tons per year. Tons, thousands of tons, right? But it's a massive industry, and what happens is that last year, about 22% was taken up in jewelry and photography. 22% was by investors, okay, including what are called ETFs, so there's digital buying. But over half, which is 56% and growing dramatically, is industrial applications. But the point is, you've got to have a look at what are the applications, okay? We're not talking toasters here, guys. We're talking about the fastest growing, hottest industrial applications of the world, all right? You know, solar panels. There's about 20 grams of silver in solar panels, because silver is the best is the best at conducting electricity. Okay, and that has to work properly in a solar panel and an electric vehicle and in a drone and in a robot. It's absolutely vital that that happens, and it can't really be replaced very effectively. And so, look, the value of silver in a solar panel has gone up from 3 to 5% to now 29-30% of the total value of a panel. All right, and that's like 20% now of all the silver consumption. So when we look forward, we don't know what's going to happen, but, you know, India now is going full on solar. Lots of countries around the world is going full on solar. The price has dropped so much. China dominates it. And so, you know, you've got to say that the solar panel market will grow on 100% per year, 100%. So what's currently taken now, it's got to grow by 100% over the next 10 years. And that's crazy growth, because it's already 20% of all silver demand. I'm saying that, if that is a silver demand, so if it's already over 6,000 tons a year, we're talking about 12,000 tons a year. Got it? Understand that? Okay, electric vehicles. Look, electric vehicles solved their battery problems by adding silver. Okay, part of the big solution. And so, there is 10 to 20 times more silver in an electric vehicle, depending on its size, than on a solar panel. Okay, and so, when you look at electric vehicles, that market, is always volatile, but it's probably going to grow by 100% over the next 10 years. Okay, when electric buses and lorries and everything, right? So that's pretty exciting growth. Drones doesn't sound like much, but the drone market is absolutely exploding. It does have silver in it, like iPhones, and they're talking about the drone market growing by 1,500% by value over the next 10 years. Okay, so that's a lot of silver. And the last one is obviously the big one. Robots have approximately the same amount of silver than electric vehicles, but they're not talking about 1 million more robots. Elon Musk is talking about 3 billion robots over the next 10 years. Got it? And that's just Elon Musk. That's not industrial robots in these factories. It's not the other competitors to Tesla making robots. Got it? And I don't know how much that's an increase. Is it 10,000%? I have no idea. But I tell you what I do know, that these are not markets that governments are going to say, hey, slow down, we don't have enough silver. They're going to find the silver somehow, okay? Because these are strategic markets. And it's very important for the West, because guess what? China controls the solar panel market, the electric vehicle market. 9 out of 10 companies are Chinese. Drones, they control that. And robots is the one they really want to make happen through AI. So governments are going to take interest in this, and we've got some news in a second on that. It's really hard to replace silver, okay? They can do something with copper and things like that, but it's hard to do. It's also very difficult to put it into the process. And when you imagine that there's already a demand supply issue, it's a real problem. So if you look at demand, it's not unreasonable to say that the current demand from industrial uses will double. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Double. You could probably argue it'll triple or quadruple, but no one knows where they'd find the silver. And you're talking about tens of thousands of ounces per year, all right? Tens of thousands. It's enormous. So there's the shortage that it currently exists is going to get worse. And so, You say, well, they've just mined some more. Well, the reality is silver mining has not increased for since 2018. There has been a deficit for the last 4 years. Okay, the way you get silver is you don't have a silver mine so much. These days, what happens is you have a copper mine, gold mine, lead mine. In doing that, you end up with silver, and so it can take up to 10 years for new mines to come online. So there is this problem now with the actual buying and selling of silver, because the supply, even if they increase recycling and they looked at all the sort of tailings off the mines, they're not going to get enough silver to really put it. And governments don't stockpile silver like they do gold. So supply is a massive problem as far as delivering it. So you have this rapidly increasing demand. You've got supply barely moving. What's going to happen to price? Are you surprised? If we know about it, you can be sure that the larger organizations know about it. And so, I wanted to put a prediction. I don't know. It's over $100 today. A year ago is less than $30. It's not hard to believe it'll be $300, $400, $500. It's not hard to imagine it could spike to $1,000. All right. The reality is that if it gets too expensive, it causes real economic problems with the building of electric vehicles and solar panels. Right. So you expect the impact to be for governments to turn around and to have a problem. And China has just done it. And they have just added export restrictions from the 1st of January this year. Okay. We also know that bullion suppliers who are not refiners are saying there are shortages. They're saying that you either can't buy it or you've got to turn up and collect it physically, which brings in all sorts of security issues for people, walking out. People don't buy $500 worth. They put $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, and silver is heavy. It's 40 to 50 times gold. Gold, you can have it smaller. Silver is like you need 40 times. If you want a kilo of silver, which is pretty valuable, but if you want the equivalent if you have a kilo of gold to have the equivalent in silver, you've got to have 40 times more, 40 kilos of silver. And we've heard stories of that. And the price becomes very volatile. And people have a look at the price and they go, oh, that's a good price. I can buy at that price. No, the market doesn't work like that. It can literally be 10, 15, 20% higher than what you can see because the price is volatile, because people don't understand how silver is priced, and because there's restrictions. Make sense, everyone? Okay, so look, when it comes to investing in this, you've basically got three options. You're either buying bars, you're buying coins or that sort of product, or you're buying tokenized. Now, remember we're talking industrials. So industrials just want the raw silver to use. And so what we want to say to you is that if you're buying physical silver, great. Okay, some people emotionally want to hold onto that physical product, but it's a hassle. It's a hassle for price. It's a hassle transportation, security. We have people who tell people that they've got silver at home. It's like saying you have a bag of cash at home that's value, where the value is rocketing. It's crazy. But people do that. There are real challenges with physical. And so, we as a company pioneered what's called the tokenization of gold, silver, and platinum in Australia. Okay, we did it in 2020. We did it on the basis of investment. So we're talking about conservative people putting money out of normally a sort of super or pensions. So what do people do when they want to have 5% of their portfolio in precious metals, and that's 50 grand. Okay, so the key thing is that it's really easy to buy, because it's easy to set up a Wealth 99 account and just buy tokenized precious metals, and you own a token. Now, the token is just a receipt for you owners. You own the metals, right? So what happens is that you buy the token, send us the money, we buy the metals on your behalf, and then the company that we deal with, which is one of the world's largest bullion companies, they then have the metals and they put it in their vaults, which is audited, insured, 100% secure environment. And what happens is that Wealth 99 doesn't own the metals. They're owned by a trustee. All of this is in writing and white papers you can find out. And then your token sits on the Wealth 99 platform, and there we have, we're not like a crypto exchange. We have security. We're if someone hacked your account, they can't take your tokens or anything like that. They can't withdraw them, and even if they sold them, they couldn't withdraw the cash if it wasn't going to your bank account. So the security that we have is designed, from the start, to be at the level to make people feel comfortable, and we will help you go through the process. And so I just ask people the question: how much silver do you own? Okay, that's the only question. If you don't agree with me, watch the presentation again, do your own research, and you'll find that, number one, you want to be owning more silver. All right, you probably want to be owning a little bit of gold as well, and the tokenization solution is a much better solution than what you can have. And we want you to share this video to the people that you know and love, because the point is that this is a very unique opportunity for people, and we hope that if they watch this, that they will understand that works for them as well. So I think you understand what we're saying, and I hope you found the information valuable.
That was a great webinar, Ed. It intrigued me to find out in a few years' time, when supply and demand equal each other. So at the moment now, is in the demand of how much we've got to how much we're making. It's going to be a very interesting period of time. So people with silver now are going to be super happy. People that want super are going to be super happy as well, because we've got some good growth potential there. And what we do have on Wealth 99 is what I refer to as Safe Silver. Yeah. So the good thing about Safe Silver is you can just contact a specialist or contact the company directly, and a specialist will contact you, help you set up the account, explain how the platform works, explain how you can buy and sell and operate your exchange platform properly. That's our role as specialists. Go to the website, wealth99.com.au, check out the support tab, connect up with a specialist, connect up with a company, and we're here to help you get some Safe Silver. Good night, everyone. Thanks for the webinar.
Thanks.